All right, y'all. Welcome back to another edition of Bitcoin Weekly News, where I'm briefly touching on all the things that I saw from my timeline that I thought were newsworthy. I think last week we had 6 or 7 things. This week we got 12, and they're all pretty damn good. So without further ado, super quick overview before we jump in deeper. Arkade public mainnet beta, Joltz and Spark cross-chain bridge, River launches something called supercharged recurring buys. At BitcoinYield, we dropped a couple more reports this week. We got some news that MagicEden will actually not be integrating Spark. With Spark, continuing on that topic, BitBIt launched in-app or in-wallet swaps. SatGo also added Spark. Spark's been on a tear lately. We saw an Arc and Lightning swap with USDC. It looks like Arch is finally coming to mainnet soon. Atomiq and added support for Botanics. Christian Catalini, who is the chief strategy officer at Lightspark, gave an interesting talk. And then Seth for Privacy, the VP at Cake Wallet, dropped an excellent article breaking down Spark and Arc. So without further ado, let me full screen this bad boy, and let's just jump in. So first, some of the biggest news. Off-chain scaling has been a big topic the past year or so. Arc is a big one, but we've been waiting to see when mainnet, and we now see, as of this last week, that they have a public beta going live. People have been using it. You can swap. There's a couple apps currently live. So check that out. On that same topic, I actually used one of the products currently live that launched on day one, which is Lendasat. And so they allow you to swap BTC on Arc for USDC. And this example was on Polygon. Okay, kind of cool. Like, we have cross-chain bridges. But what's cool about this is how fast and how low value you can send these transactions. So I did $10 in this case. I did $10 on Arc, and I got $10 in USDC in my Phantom wallet, and it took like less than 30 seconds. I sent it, swap happened, I saw it on my Solana. So now, and you can pay with Arc or Lightning in this case. So we're starting to see now how these off-chain solutions like Spark and Arc are using Lightning as a connective layer, an interoperability layer, instead of just the end goal to get from point A to point B and do stuff. So very, very cool. On this similar topic of cross-chain bridging, Joltz, which has been one of the strongest teams building on Taproot assets, they recently added support for Spark, something we touched on last week. You should go watch that episode if you haven't. But they've been expanding support. So last week we saw they had support for Ethereum and Base, and you could swap ETH and USDT as wrapped versions into Spark. This week they're adding Binance Smart Chain and Arbitrum. All right, this one, River, which is my current favorite place to do DCAing my Bitcoin. That's where I buy monthly. They launched something called supercharged recurring buys, and I'll just play a little video. It's cool. We'll stop there. But basically, it allows you, so you can set recurring buys on River. That's what I do. I'll buy like $500 a month. And what it will do with this is that if the moving average is trending down, or there's a dip currently when your recurring buy is about to trigger, then you can set it to buy some X amount more based on a percentage. So 25% more, 50% more, or 100% more. So you could take advantage of dips automatically. On that same note, Alexander Leishman, who's the CEO and CTO, I think, of River, just dropped this little tidbit where he says that 99.9% of Bitcoin treasury companies are profitable small and medium businesses on Main Street. So these are just like mom and pop businesses. And I like this for two reasons. One, it redefines what we typically think of as a Bitcoin treasury company. It's not like the Michael Saylors and the guys on Wall Street. It's anybody who runs a business who's holding BTC as a treasury asset to store and preserve their wealth and buying power, which really is what it is. And so what he's saying here is that River, which does a lot of work to onboard companies into self-custody and manage their assets, they're doing a lot of Bitcoin buying. So this is bullish. I like these little breadcrumbs of how this stuff is working. All right, we also saw, as of a couple hours ago, there was a big push from, reading the timeline that MagicEden was working on Spark, Luminex is working on Spark, and there's going to be this like big hyped trading token launch. But we now know that MagicEden is actually not going to be going forward with it, so no support for Spark. I didn't get this in my notes here, but we also saw that one of the key engineering people at MagicEden is moving over to Flashnet, which is the one of the trading infrastructure projects that's trying to build like a decentralized exchange on Spark, and is moving over to Flashnet to head engineering. So lots of moving pieces, lots happening over in the Spark eco. All right, related to this, BitBIt, which is one of the coolest wallets out there for Spark, also connects to Twitter. So if you install it, you'll get a new little bolt icon in your Twitter UI, and you can tip people's sats directly on the timeline through Spark. They added in-wallet swaps to the wallet interface. So they could swap between USDB, which is one of their stable coins on Spark, and BTC. All right. BitcoinYield, where I spend a good chunk of my time reviewing all the ways to safely earn on your BTC. We dropped 2 reports this week. One, continuing on, Yield Basis is a pretty interesting project, and it supports multiple tokens that have different yield. And so we covered a second vault here with CBBTC. Highly recommend you go read our report. Hit me if anything isn't clear. And then we covered Maple Finance, which is our first KYC project. We've been focused on non-KYC kind of DeFi stuff to date. But Maple Finance is a KYC project. They earn their yield mainly by staking on CoreDAO and then taking that core token, converting it back into BTC, and paying back the depositors. All right, moving on. A lot of cross-chain and interoperability stuff going on right now. Atomiq, which is very similar to like Boltz.exchange, allows you to do atomic swaps across different flavors of things. Initially was Solana to BTC, then went BTC to Starknet, and now they're going BTC to Botanix, and it's their first expanding into EVM. So very interesting. More Spark goodies. SatGo, which is one of the best ordinals and runes mobile wallets out there. Shout out to the homie Ben, NFT Supply. But they just announced that they have Spark coming to the wallet, and they're trying to create the best mobile trading experience for BTKN tokens. All right, Lolly and Mezzo. So these are the teams from Thesis, which is kind of calling them a dev shop sounds way too small. They're a huge company. They cover many things. They are the ones who created TBTC, the Threshold Network, and they bought Lolly a while back, and they now integrated Lolly with Mezzo. So if you have a Lolly account and you're doing it to hold some of your BTC or earn rewards, you can now withdraw into Mezzo and do more things with it. And I think their focus is to turn Mezzo into like a on-chain bank account. So you can hold Bitcoin, you can move into stable coins, probably move into a bank account if easily, earn yield on your Bitcoin. So they're bringing together their different platforms to make them very seamless from place to place. All right, Arch coded. Arch has been building for a long time. quietly, as you can see the wording here, and it sounds like mainnet will be soon. You can check out that. And then coming near the end, Spark and Arc, again, have been very interesting layer 2s. They take different design decisions. They both extend Lightning at some level because they can pay those Lightning invoices. But they're hard to understand. And a lot of people don't know the technicals of it. And so Seth for Privacy, one of the VPs at Cake Wallet, wrote an article on Bitcoin Magazine breaking down the difference in the two. I highly, highly recommend it if you're even remotely a nerd like me. And then last but not least, Lightspark had their, I think they call it the Sync conference last week. And there's a bunch of talks that have kind of dripped out, and I'm sure there's more coming. They got most of their Lightspark and Spark builders in one house to kind of talk about where they're going. But Christian Catalini, who's the chief strategy officer, was one of the core guys that was trying to build out Libra at Meta/Facebook. Gave a fantastic talk on the importance of open networks and why open networks always win versus closed source and closed permission. So I'll just end with a little bit of this video, and then we'll bring this to a close.
This fragmentation, this is the enemy. Now, some people will look at it and just call it inefficiency. That word is not nearly big enough. Fragmentation is the tax that the present levies on our future. It's the collective price we all pay for the lack of imagination, the lack of courage. It's friction that invisibly, quietly grinds progress to a halt. And why does it happen? It happens when everyone is focused on building their little kingdom. The result of chasing the next quarter rather than building for the next decade. It builds a war.
All right, and we'll call it there. So, what do you guys think? I'm trying to make these short and concise, but also give you enough context that you can go dig deeper and know what's going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So if you like these, please like it, share it, retweet it. Getting the word out helps me build my brand and continue to create these videos. So that's it. Thank you. Until next week.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
I know that things don't always go your way, but I'll be right